Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Chris Stankovich, and this week I want to recap a big story that occurred last night actually. Junior Seau committed suicide, and since then there's been a lot of national media attention going toward not only the tragic death of Junior Seau, but the complications associated with sport retirement and how so many elite level athletes seem to fall on hard times after their careers end. Of course, this is not an issue exclusive to elite level athletes. I personally see this issue with a lot of athletes at younger ages and skill levels, college, high school. It's not uncommon to see young athletes struggle with letting go of their sports career when they are no longer able to compete and they face the reality that their sports career is over. You know, one angle that I wanted to talk about a little bit more on this video was the fact that the media right now seems to be putting a lot of focus on the complications of sport retirement due to brain damage or brain trauma, primarily concussions. And you know, I would never dismiss that that is a factor that may be contributing to some of these tragic cases where athletes fall on hard times, become depressed, and even suicidal. But I would certainly warn people to not rely on that exclusively. In fact, most of the athletes that I've worked with over my 20-year career have not had any kind of brain damage or trauma, but yet many of them have still had a lot of trouble transitioning. And I think there's two big reasons for that, and they are psychosocial reasons. One has to do with athletes and their identity, and so many times athletes today, even young athletes, create what we call an exclusive athletic identity. That is, they see themselves as only an athlete, and society also sees them as primarily an athlete. And so when they face sport retirement, they're stripped of that identity, and that's really tough to kind of bounce back from. The second reason, I think, has to do with the lack of aftercare counseling programs. Rarely are there programs available for athletes, even at the professional and Olympic level. So you can imagine when you get to college and below, at the high school level, there's hardly any resources available to young athletes going through the sport retirement transition. So when you put those two together, an identity based almost exclusively around being an athlete, and then the lack of any resources to help athletes through that transition, I think that largely explains why so many athletes of all ages and skill levels oftentimes struggle with sport retirement. So if you're a parent or coach and you happen to know a young athlete, or it's your son or daughter, keep an eye out. Make sure that he or she is not over-identifying with being an athlete. Try to help your son or daughter or the kids that you coach expand their identity, and pay attention to all the other things that they do well besides being an athlete. Maybe it's academic talents or creative talents or other social activities or endeavors that they're invested in. Could be musical abilities, but you really want to reinforce all aspects of a person's personality. And then, of course, if you happen to notice that someone's really struggling with sport retirement, seek professional assistance, because we would hate to see something terrible happen to someone that you know and love, similar to what happened to Junior Seau or some of the other athletes in recent years who have struggled with things like substance abuse or reckless behaviors. So pay attention and do your part, and hopefully a few of these tips today will help.